Okay, welcome everybody. Hard act to follow with our friends at Kahua, but we'll do our best here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about utilities, specifically how AI has began to make an impact in the utility industry. And in just a second, I'll give our panel the opportunity to introduce themselves. As we start the conversation, the need for digital transformation in the subsurface utility mapping and its role in advancing the nation's critical infrastructure is the focus of our panel today, with historic funding and demand for infrastructure development coupled with a critical shortage of civil engineers. Conventional practices like manual utility records research and utility coordination are often no longer sustainable. Fragmented, inaccurate, or non-existing utility data, exacerbates these challenges, causing project delays, cost overruns, damage in the industry, and of course, safety risks. So the focus today is on the urgent need for that digital transformation in the utility ecosystem and the evolving demands in the U.S. infrastructure market. So companies that are successfully exploring and adapting will secure competitive advantages in the market and significantly shape the future of the nation's infrastructure ecosystem. Yet, navigating this transformation for most organizations presents a complex and a multifaceted challenge. So the idea here is to take advantage of the opportunity to gain insights into the future of utility mapping, which is what our company 4M Analytics focuses on. As I mentioned, we use some of the latest technology to deliver the utility footprint anywhere in the U.S. at scale. And our effort is to get that into the hands of the people who are working on these infrastructure projects. Whether you're an owner, a city, a state, a DOT, for example, or a civil engineering firm that's responsible for the design of these projects and the utilities associated with these projects, a contractor who's out there delivering these projects, or the service providers that are key in ensuring that the damage prevention and the safety and the standards are adhered to within the industry. So as Ken mentioned, my name's Joe Eberly. I'm with 4M. I'm the vice president of the company here. And we will focus on what I just described as the impact of technology in the infrastructure space. So a few key data points as we kick off. Some of these things are pretty interesting to whoever you are or whatever you happen to be doing in the industry. There's some trends out there that I think we all should be aware of. Texas, for example, according to the sources that we have, they're set to receive about $27 billion from the IIJA. And with that, of course, most of us are probably aware of the kind of impact that type of funding can have on the state and the projects that will be delivered under that funding. There's also a capacity problem with a critical shortage of skilled labor and civil engineers. I mentioned that earlier. It's going to have a huge impact, if not already. So how do we use technology to support the need and the shortage that we have in those critical skilled areas? That's one thing that I think all of us, if we're not monitoring and looking at solutions for that, we should be. So the other thing is, when you look at the money that's spent today in damage prevention efforts all over the U.S., you have to ask the question, is the investment that's being made paying off? And the short answer is no. You can look at different statistics and different numbers out there, but let's say the number is around $5 billion a year is spent on damage prevention efforts, and yet we see the cost of damage in the industry, not including the safety-related component of that, just the actual damages themselves. It continues to go up. Utility strikes continue to go up. So what's happening? Why is that happening? Probably a lot of factors. We won't get into all those, but certainly something to be aware of from a trend perspective. Okay, let me hand it over to our panel to do some introductions with themselves. Wes, I'll start with you. Who you are and a little bit about what you do.
All right, testing. Wes Kaiserschott with ServWest LLC. I'm a VP of our engineering services, which are subsurface utility engineering, SUE, and utility coordination. We're also a firm that does survey of many different kinds, those three services. We are officed in Denver, Fort Worth, and here north of Austin in Round Rock. I've spent the majority, if not all, of my 26-year career in utilities, whether on the SUE side, the utility coordination side, both. Trust me, I've tried to get away from it, but I couldn't escape. So that's what I've been doing, and we are a successful DBE firm that is strategically working mostly in Colorado and Texas is our growth, but nationwide out to the West Coast as we follow some Class 1 railroads. So a little bit about us.
Thank you, Wes. Jesse.
Yes, I'm Jesse Cooper. I'm with senior utility manager with HDR Engineering. We have about 11,000 employees worldwide, and I guess in my former role, I spent 30 years with the TxDOT right-of-way division as the director of mapping, surveying, and utilities. I work more now as a project manager and as a subject matter individual for multiple state DOTs across the nation.
Thank you. John.
Yes, John King with VRX. We are a 180-person firm headquartered in North Texas. We do traditional consulting engineering for civil engineering, structural, environmental, also program management, aviation, and construction management RSIs. We have offices throughout North Texas, Oklahoma, and New York. My background, kind of like Wes, we used to work together in previous past employer. But I've tried to get away from utilities as much as possible, but I keep getting back into it. So please be here.
Thank you, John. And last but not least, Jacob.
Jacob Valentine. I'm a civil engineer working at Westwood Professional Services. I run our Central Texas region, focusing primarily on public infrastructure, anything from water, wastewater, treatment, roadways, all of the above. So our company is nationwide. We've got about 2,000 employees kind of spread across, but Texas is our largest region.
Thank you, Jacob. Wes, I'm going to start with you if that's okay. So in the industry, I think trust is a very big deal. Whether you're a service provider, whether you're an engineering firm, or like us, whether you're a technology company introducing new technology into the space. So how is ServWest gaining customer trust and credibility by presenting new innovation technologies, whether it's mapping or other types of technology that you introduce to your client base?
Yeah, it's great. We definitely are. So as I talk about that, I just want to see a raise of hand from the crowd out there. Who is familiar with subsurface utility engineering, SUE? Raise of hands. All right, the 4 quality levels, A, B, C, D. D's your record, C, you're surveying in and drawing utility segments between surveyed in. Markings, B, you're actually designating it in, and then A, you're using test holes and getting your X, Y, Z locked in. So yeah, as a refresher for those that aren't. So the majority are. ServWest is using innovative technology and particularly artificial intelligence with Forum Analytics. We're a real key partner and customer of theirs, a little bit of an early adopter, if you will, we can say, and we're happy about that. We are using that to produce the SUE deliverable to the client, whether it's the city of Austin, whether it's Williamson County, to the ASCE 3822 standard. There is a standard that says if you're doing SUE in Washington to Florida to California to Maine, across the country, you need to be talking, and those levels need to be the levels wherever you are per the ASCE standard. So we're using that artificial intelligence. We're getting those records right away. It's utility records on steroids because they come very quick. They even have real-time data mapped in Texas now where you draw your polygon and the utilities are popping up in there. We as a SUE company, we go field verify. They're a software company, they're machine learning, they're producing that information. We are locking it down into a SUE standard by boots on the ground, trucks, designating equipment, ground penetrating radar, pipe and cable locators, field visits, SON to put down non-detectable pipes where there's no metallic or tracing wire. Like we have the crews out there, but so strategic because we're using that information to get our crews out there days ahead of when they would normally get out there.
Great, thank you. Jesse, slightly different question for you. The subsurface is becoming more and more complex. It's become more and more crowded as more infrastructure goes into the ground. And that means more challenges to the folks who are engineering the projects, delivering the projects, recording the projects, even planning the projects. So what have you seen as some of the primary challenges in utility coordination, managing project budgets associated with utilities, the schedules, and then of course the risk mitigation efforts that your firm is working on?
Okay, they picked the risk and how it's changed to the old guy on the panel. I go back real quick to the early 1990s when utility coordination and relocation activities was one of our local engineers picking up the phone, calling the local city saying, please move your water and sewer line. We've got a project and we need you to move 10 feet out closer to the right-of-way line. Your second phone call was, again dating, Lone Star Gas. The same question, or the same answer, please move over. We didn't worry about getting existing plans. We knew lines were there. We just told them move. Then it was Texas Power and Light, the next one. All of those companies are out of existence pretty much now, but that shows 4 utilities, 4 phone calls, our coordination was done, and it wasn't even an item really on our estimate because they took care of it. Today's environment where we're looking at multi-level interchanges, like you have at Ben White and I-35, the 290 intersection, all of those, you will have between 20 and 30 utility companies occupying those now with deregulation of telecoms and all other facilities. When you go into those major intersections now, you will have over 1,000 conflicts, maybe as high as 2,000 conflicts where lines are hitting part of the infrastructure, part of the ITS, the lighting systems, or whatever. But we are now mitigating thousands of conflicts in trying to make an organization out of the chaos we have now with the utilities that are on our transportation systems. So when you asked about the challenge, number one, knowledge is power. So the knowledge of where these items are is most important, and the accuracy of that data is the challenge that we have. And after we have the knowledge of what is there, what has to be done, we have the knowledge of the risk because we know the accuracy of the data. Then we have to look at what type of conflicts do you have. You have direct conflicts. You have regulatory conflicts about who can be how close to someone else. You have constructability and the phasing of the project. When can these relocations happen? That is what my firm deals in, is the resolving of these conflicts. And we rely on the WESs and the SUE firms that are out there to be giving us good data and bringing that good data to us so that we can make informed decisions.
Jesse, thank you. John, switching to you for a second. Talk to us a little bit about how technology can expedite infrastructure projects, specifically in the early phases. Our philosophy is deliver a comprehensive data set on the utilities as early on in the process as practical, as available, and the downstream effects of that will be mitigation of risk and so on. Can you help us from your perspective? What does the adoption of technology at the right time in the project phase, and how does that impact
Sure.
projects?
During the planning phase, as Judge was saying, it's all about data acquisition, trying to find out as much information as you can about what's out there. And during the planning phase, we're trying to mitigate risk by not having as many people out in the field and doing a lot of field work to be able to get that information in. We want to be as efficient as possible in putting together the plan for the project, especially in an urban area where there's a lot of traffic and there's a lot of other risks that are outside in the field. So we're looking for technology, artificial intelligence that will bring that in-house, where we can get real-time data of the information that's available to be able to come up with our conflict matrices that we're producing, to be able to tell how many conflicts are out there. So in the planning phase, it's really critical that we get the information fast and efficiently as possible to put that data together. One of the ways in design is when we traditionally take a SUE and we do it early in the design phase. And as things are changing as you go into construction, especially on a large project, it might be 5-year gap between the time where you took your initial SUE and then you go back into the design and then into construction. So, artificial intelligence, the AI is really helping us identify new things that pop up in the field that could be changes in topography, new additions were added. We have a lot of development going on, especially in all of our urban areas of Texas. So new utilities are popping up, daily. And so using that AI to be able to go back in and see what has changed since we initially did the design keeps us from having to go out and do a full SUE investigation. We can really pinpoint areas where we know things have changed and then get that data without having to, the expense of having to send the crews out in the field and do that. So,
John, thank you. Similar, Jacob. So we've talked a little bit about challenges. We've talked a little bit about some of the opportunities to use emerging technology. From your perspective, specifically in public sector work, which has challenges of its own for sure, what do you see as some of the opportunities and challenges in implementing newer types of technology at your firm?
Yeah, so I think we can all agree that every city in this general area is experiencing explosive growth. If you go look at any city's council agenda, they're presenting a very long list of capital improvement projects or bond programs or whatever. And so as a civil engineer in this region, it's exciting because there's so much opportunity, there's so many projects, but also everyone's kind of at capacity. The civil engineering community can only do so many projects. So the pressure that's being put in this region based on all the growth, it's putting pressure on delivering projects faster or delivering projects more efficiently. So that's really a challenge of how do we do what we've always done, but do it faster and out of a higher quality. Well, that's kind of the opportunity of using a digital tool such as 4M Analytics. So for us, we're using it at the proposal stage. How do we identify how many conflicts we need to deal with in design? Who do we need to reach out to? How many entities do we need to reach out to? And we're able to get that in minutes as compared to maybe a week or two of research. So even just that use of 4M Analytics at the proposal stage is saving us time, since our time is really the limiting resources to how many projects we can do and what we can do in this region. So I think just the pressure of the growth is a huge challenge, but it provides the opportunity to use a digital solution to improve your efficiency.
Thank you, Jacob. Wes, coming back to you. What do you see? Organizations can either fall in a spectrum of adoption of technology. You might be on the bleeding edge. You might be on the leading edge. You could be all the way in the sort of lagging category behind the curve. What do you see as some of the risk of delaying technological advances in the SUE industry itself? And when you guys are evaluating technology, what is the process that you go through to determine whether we make the decision to move forward with a technology?
Yeah, it's good. So I heard another panel talk about AI, and that could be scary. And everyone's talking about AI and everything now. I mean, you turn on any network, and they're going to have an AI program. I heard at a conference that AI is not going to replace people anytime soon, but people that are using AI are going to replace people that are not using AI in their businesses in the short term. So I want to be on that leading edge, not the bleeding edge, like you defined. There's also a risk too, because as form analytics and utility mapping through AI is being adopted, and I know we have TxDOT, friend at my table over there from TxDOT. TxDOT's adopting it. DOTs across the country are adopting it. So for me, as a small 60-person DBE SUE firm, for us not to adopt it, we would be on the bleeding edge. We would be on the lagging edge. So the risk is that we wouldn't be providing the level of certainty for our clients that are adopting it. And again, AI is the information, and then you have SUE firms like ourselves and others that are locking it down to 0.2 foot in the horizontal, 0.1 foot vertical when we expose the utility with our vacuum excavation trucks to top a pipe. We would be lagging behind if we weren't using that to get out and serve our clients with the best information possible when our clients themselves are adopting it. Where we assess it is, does it make sense for maybe the size of the project? We look at that. If it's just a very small project and it's maybe 2 utility companies to call, but anytime you get to like a mile-long roadway or you get about 64, 65 acres of a site development, that's really where we would then begin considering to use form analytics for the project.
Gotcha. Wes, thank you. Jesse, as the guy on the panel, I think has been most involved in defining the industry standards through ASCE and other avenues, what do you see as the most challenging hurdle to new technologies that might be out in front of the standards a bit? And how do the standards address that?
Good question. From my time with the DOT, working with manuals, policies, procedures, to working with ASCE and the 38, which is a SUE standard, and the 75, which is the information data exchange for utility data. What I have seen is it takes as much as 10 years many times for the policies and laws and guidance to catch up with industry. And as you know right now, we are developing extremely fast. If you're a year behind, you've already had 1 or 2 generations of software out. And so this is a constant challenge right now. Our ASCE 38 starts out, as Wes mentioned, with level D records research. We don't talk about artificial intelligence, AI. We don't talk about BIM and how we exchange this information. We started the standard for 75, but it's a shell program right now. So our technology has to recognize what's going on right now in our industry. And not only that, with personnel. You think about how much of our workforce is above the age of 35 that's trying to use this, and are they trained in the software? Do they know the risk, the accuracies, or the risk that goes with the accuracies of the data that they're receiving? To do something faster and do these larger projects, do them the way we've got to do, we've got to share information, put our hands on information quicker than we ever have. We also have to know that it's the most current and it's the most accurate. That's where AI can help us. But we also know that we have to worry about those risks. As I heard somebody in one of the other sessions say something about security. and having an account and logging on. Utilities are one of the things, one of those items. If you know the right point, you might be able to shut down all power to all of South Houston. You might be able to shut down the 911 system for entire counties, or disrupt communication from one point across the country to the other. So as we work with all of this, there are a tremendous amount of protocols, training of our workforce, and acknowledging and identifying and acknowledging the risks that we've got to put in place for the future.
Thank you, Jesse. John, Jesse brought up AI. John, I can give you access to the 4M data set, which would provide you with, to John's point, that the amount of data, say for example in Texas, I can give you 25 or 30 billion linear feet of utility asset across all the sectors and give it to you and make it available with a push of a button. How do you and your company adapt to this AI-based push of making data available at that scale?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like with Jesse and Wes. We hear a lot of things about what AI is and how the technology is coming, and we see a lot of things that are moving towards AI. I think one of the key things that we look at when we're looking at either utility mapping software like 4M or site monitoring software that we're using for monitoring site conditions, we look at how that data is gathered. So we're looking for what is the background basis that you're using for gathering that type of information. Because that's what's most important to us, is that yes, we can push a button and receive the data within minutes, but if we're not able to prove where that data came from or the method that was used to receive it, or if like our younger engineers don't understand how that information was gathered, we don't have the basis to be able to prove it to our client that this data is accurate. So really we're looking for the understanding of how you're gathering the information, how the information is being used, how the technology is being used. And also we're looking at, like you said, our older engineers that aren't as adapt to AI technology and as computer illiterate, that they understand what they're receiving, making sure the data that they're receiving is coming in on, for instance, the right coordinate systems, that they're able to translate it to our design drawings, to be able to use it on a daily basis. Because if we bring it in and we're off by inches, that could be a huge cost to the project if we're using data that we did not prove or understand correctly. So really it's about training, like Jesse said, training of our engineers to make sure that they understand what the data is used for and how it's being used, how it's being gathered, so that we can prove it to the client that we know and understand what we're presenting to them.
John, thank you. So we have just a few minutes left here. So I want to shift gears, and maybe I'll start, Jacob, with you. This is the opportunity to sort of publicly wave the magic wand and tell us a little bit about the future and what you might be looking for in the future. In Texas, I mentioned we have a lot of data. We can make it available to you at any point in your projects, whether it's planning or on down the line with the push of a button. But what would you like to see added to or become the future or the standard when it comes to utility mapping or utility data in the industry?
Yeah, I think the start of having it all mapped is amazing, but to kind of follow up on your point, we have to be able to validate that information. So I think, and this is me dreaming, but an idea of having a marketplace that is this utility map network where SUE firms can upload their data and share it to validate and be compensated for it, and engineers can update their record drawings. And we're continually evolving this utility map, but we've created an ecosystem where everyone is feeding off of each other because we're all working in the same sandbox. So I think that would be an amazing thing, to take this innovative technology and evolve it so that everybody can help contribute to validate your data.
Yeah, so I think I heard you say, like, use the data to connect the workflows and the processes that all the stakeholders use in delivering quality and mitigating risk providing safety and so forth.
Yeah, because no usage of this technology absolves us from our professional responsibility. So
Correct.
the more that we can trust it and build that trust with the data, the quicker and easier we can use it.
Wes, same question to you. Wave the magic wand.
Well, to me, it's going to be in what Jesse touched on. The SUE standard updated in 2022 did not embark on artificial intelligence. The 2027 that's being drafted now and committees forming has to and will be describing how artificial intelligence will be part of the subsurface utility engineering process.
Jesse?
Right now, I'm seeing it starting, the original beginnings right here. But with the information network and the information exchange, I am seeing drainage engineers within the data that they have that has been developed by artificial intelligence being brought in. They're avoiding lines in their original design. Roadways are already picking routes away from transmission lines or high-cost relocations of oil and gas transmission. You are looking at an environment now where information is exchanged by all parties, all disciplines of engineers, and utility companies. And so all stakeholders in this transportation environment, we're able to interact real time with each other, and we eliminate coordination, time, and level of effort that we put into things. And to meet the goals that we were mentioning for the citizens of Texas, we're able to put projects on the ground quicker because knowledge is power.
Thank you, Jesse. John?
For the horizontal and transportation side of design and engineering and construction, we've always been in a 2D environment for the longest. We haven't adapted very well to the 3D world like the vertical construction side has with the BIM. So, my magic wand would be that we start integrating. We're moving towards 3D, but we're moving very slowly towards that. So my magic wand would be that we then push a button in a couple of years and we're able to get the actual third dimension of the data that we're receiving now within minutes and know where that fits in the vertical side of utility mapping. So.
Great, thank you. Okay, as we wrap up, two last points. First is thank you all for participating on our panel in what I think is a very interesting and evolving discussion around AI and data and the impact that can have on the utility industry. Secondly would be also thank you for the opportunity to work together on projects not only in Texas but other areas, and we look forward to continuing to evolve by hearing your feedback. The magic wand ideas, we need that as a company to ensure that we're providing capabilities out there in the market that everybody in the audience can take advantage of on your projects. And then lastly, maybe a round of applause for Ken and the team for putting together Infra Day. So thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, if there are any questions, our group and my team has a table out here if you have any questions about 4M. So thank you.